truth and the wisdom that comes from lifetimes of reflection on spoken word speak not just to spoken word, but to poetry itself. Our next reader is Brian Brett. And Brian has the, Brian Brett. And here's the example of what I was talking about. Brian Brett has the opening poem in this book called What's the Poem? And he digs his way down through the ideas of the language and language's power. He digs his way down through this poem. It's a beautiful poem about poetry, and I want to read this one verse for you to introduce Brian, because he ends up with the definition not just of the poem, but of the speech act that makes us who we are. Kill adverbs and adjectives, and then revive them with a kiss. Know a good noun when you see it, and the verb that needs no modifier. And then ignore all advice, except the one that demands these words in this place. Brian Brett.
Thank you, Richard. And thank you all. And thank you to Sherry D. For inviting me back again to this wonderful festival. What a great pleasure to be at a place where Bill Bissett just invented a new form of poetry, the unspoken word. Yes, go Bill. I like words, though, so I'm going to use a few of them. The first poem, just to warm myself up a bit, I'll do this poem that I wrote actually last summer. I was at UBC in Vancouver above the famous and sometimes infamous beach. The nude beach that's known as Wreck Beach. And I had to give honor to the survival of this great beach. And this poem is called The Wreck. The beautiful bodies remain. It took me 40 years to return to the beach. The stairs enormous now, endless, where once there weren't even stairs. The downward flow towards water and sun, and even more endless the return past the grave beside who died too young and is celebrated every year by her Wreck Beach family. It's the naked who made this place and held it in the roar of an era when we reached outside of ourselves, naively goofy, dancing, naked, beautifully naked, clothing optional, as the government would have it after the fact, on the standardized sign where nudity is equal to dogs and parking and vending. Ah, well, the beach lives beyond the bureaucracy that discovered there were people down there singing their old songs. Margaritas, marijuana, mushrooms, organic juice, sarongs, water. The crescent of sand boiling with bodies, life in all its variety, attractive and red, fat women, slug-pale men who resemble refugees from Auschwitz, pot-bellied men and women, small dick, big dick, the man with testicles like bag dangling oranges, the woman with a shaved bird-winged pussy, the pouch, the cleft, the hairy, the purple panties, small breasts, dangling pricks, the perky, the floppy, the perfect. We're all here, copper-colored, striped, white, scarlet, and painful, the gorgeous and the homely gorgeous, tattooed, pierced, and shining with oil, the knob knees, the six-pack abdomen, the impressively bumpy, shaved skull. This is the body in its variety, clothed and unclothed, and the minds that go with it, the gawkers, and the bored, the stoned young men who bought the mushrooms and dived into the mud beside the Canada geese, painted themselves into a watered with a few beer, while their bikini beautiful companions rolled their eyes, displaying the patience of lovers under a hot sun. We must adore the smiles, the truly relaxed, the thick and the misshapen, though not the creep playing with himself until someone asks him to leave, perhaps too politely. The slim, flame-haired woman with tiny breasts and endless legs, all the grace of a dancer, the old withered couple, even their scars are tanned. sipping a good wine from crystal they packed for at least a mile. We approach the wreck the way we arrived, naked and lovely to the world. I don't think this poem needs any explanation. It's actually going to be on my... Unfortunately, I don't have my musicians here. Kelvin, I could have used you tonight. This one is called In the Mindanao Deep. In the Mindanao Deep, 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 there are fish designed to hunt prey larger than themselves. They snatch their victims by the belly, break them in two, fold them over, and swallow them whole. This reminds me of my lawyer. In the Mindanao Deep, 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 there are fish designed to hunt prey larger than themselves. They snatch their victims by the belly, break them in two, fold them over, and swallow them whole. This reminds me of my first wife. But I wouldn't wish her cruel returns for all her adventures, not leeches on her body or chemotherapy hair, nothing as wild and ugly as that. No, I offer her my good love and good hunting too, swimming down there in those dark waters in the Mindanao Deep. I think she's even forgiven me for that. This is a poem that actually is on the, my CD, and we sort of kind of channeled the Trogs for it, but I'll have to do that vocally. And this came out of a trip I made to China some years ago now, and it's called Mayo. There's a word the Chinese use, the happiest word in China. Mayo. It means I'm sorry. It means no thanks. Mayo. It means it's busted. It's broke. It don't work. You missed the train. It's hooped, clapped, shot, thrashed. The clock's slow. The radio died. Fading away with great tenderness. The toilet's leaking. The shower's farting brown stuff. And yes, there are no more towels. Mayo. Out of adversity, out of the terror, out of ripped fingernails and splinters comes the only possible celebration, comes Mayo. Your child is playing in traffic. There's a rabid bat in the house. The canned peas have botulism. Mayo. It means simply, you're fucked. Mayo. It means nothing, no more. It's born, it's torn like a dead dog's eye. It's chopped and lopped, it's mean, it's done, insolvent, on the rocks. Turn on the radio, give it birth. Listen to the word slant across the world. Listen to the word break against the earth. Quien es, said Billy the Kid in the dark of his life before the bullet hurled his brain into the cold, cold earth. Mayo. And it means maybe you should have another drink before you crawl back into the dumpster to find that lost widget. It means watching your truck catch fire, going down the highway, and then singing all your favorite old songs as you begin the long walk home on the loneliest road in America. Mayo. When you can find the laughter in loss, it means you can never lose. I think I'm going to have a little more fun before I change a bit to my pacing here. This poem, I'm actually in a very lovely hotel, I would like to say. Even though it's so dark in the room, I wish I had my sort of pit light that I could walk around in there. But this is about what happens to many of us on traveling, when we're traveling and doing readings and touring. And this actually started with Susan Musgrave, who one time told me she travels with her own pillow, and then went into a long digression about all the obscene things you can find in hotel rooms. And so I thought, well, I have to reply to that. So I wrote her this poem, and it's called Praise for the Cheap Hotel. I have this friend who travels with her own pillows. She'd heard the stories of dust mites and detritus and the human ash left behind as we burn our own skin just being alive. How a black light will reveal the stains that remain from love affairs and porno films. I know another man who won't turn a tap off in a public washroom for fear of contaminating what he's just cleaned. Well, I've slept in the dirty sheets of others, laid myself down in the dust of my ancestors, slept with relatives unmet. You can't embrace beauty until you've kissed her ugly sister and loved her more. Lay me down among the bodies of the living and the dead, even when the bed is dirty and cheap and the air conditioner hums Amazing Grace loudly over and over again. I got a stuck page. Lay me down in the bed of history so I can sleep with the secrets of love lost, of love never found, or love that died or was ruined. I want to turn on the lights and watch the cockroaches run for cover. Let me sleep with construction workers and hookers, once rich stockbrokers on the fly from the law, young women who left home for a new future, and destitute immigrants from Bombay. I am home everywhere, especially when I am broke and traveling cheap, because that is when I am most rich, sleeping in the dust of my community. Lay me down among the thousand bodies in the bed. I am ready to sleep in the arms of the world. I like that one, eh? I was going to read this one tonight for Bill A. Nickerson, but he's gone off and left us. So I think I'll read it anyways. It's called Ladyboy at the Siem Reap Bridge. I just recently returned from Cambodia. Beauty smiled at me on the Siem Reap Bridge, guarded by the seven-headed Naga. All her charms on display, the platinum blonde shimmering hair, her high, full chimer breasts, the classic willow woman waist. 40 years ago, I would have said yes, 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 just for the experience and the joy of discovery. But I am sadder now, and I could only smile and pass her some money before I walked away from beauty. This is a poem. I was on an expedition up in the near Arctic some years ago, and my new collection will be called The Wind River Variations, and this is one of the poems from that great canoeing trip that was almost a month long down this incredible watershed that, of course, they're planning to do all the usual things, uranium mines and pipelines and so on. Probably the last great untouched watershed in North America. It's a very large area, and we've been fighting to save all 5 rivers, and so far we're not winning on any of them. And the poem is called Tracking Myself. Leaning down, my palm in the sand, fingers spread, this is the kingdom of dawn. My morning hand tiny against reality, the claw print of a grizzly. I follow it. I follow myself. We all follow. The following is what we follow. A mink danced in the midnight sand and a fox pursued it. Then an amiable moose with a mind blurred by the sexual goofiness of the approaching season, curious about something only a moose could be curious about, tagged along after the fox. This is the world that walks in beauty. I remember the Arctic breath of the night, my fluttering tent, the animals misting the air around me in the sparse willows, leaves upraised like yellow prayer hands, roots suffocating in the reach of the newly arrived river sand, the dune where the animals walk. Their feet walk in beauty, and the memory of the child I was walks in beauty alongside my favorite homing pigeon who loved a little stroll before coming home, the bird that was run over on the road on the 10th birthday of my dreaming. Once I walked in real beauty. I was the knock on the back door. My mother heard. "Go away," she said. "Go around to the front door." Not knowing I was bleeding after falling off the swing and watching it come back in slow motion and clunk against my skull. I'm washing the floor. But I'm wandering in my terrible beauty, so I circled around to the front door where this awful, silent child gave her the gift of witnessing a mother's innocent mistake. My head's blood flowing from my leaky crown. That's when she shrieked, of course, and she still walks in beauty, my beautiful mother. Step on the gray sand of the dawn. Another beauty walks there. A wolf followed the moose. A grizzly, curious with event, followed the gestures on the ground. I put my hand in its paw print and learn I am very small, tracking myself. Child of the East End, lost one, street kid, poor boy who once ate out of dustbins and strutted on the neon streets for money, head pounding with the nail of every year. I'm following a bear that's following a wolf, that's following a very confused moose, that's following a fox, that's following a mink. This is the path of the natural world, a line that goes all in a circle. And I think I'll wrap up with this poem. Some friends were going for a walk, and we'd been into the Scotch a little, and I started giving them directions, and and the directions got a little elaborate, as you'll see, but I realized in the end that I wasn't describing how to get down to the bottom pasture, but I was describing the world that I'd lived in. And this poem, I call it Night Directions for the Lost, which is the title of my CD. And of course, out of sheer spite, I never put the poem on the CD. Night Directions for the Lost. Turn left when you pass the frog barking under the pump house, and follow alongside the brown bats dipping low above the pond. Since all is near invisible, you can name everything. We will let you give words to the dark. Call back your memories, the Casbah and Casablanca, the fragrant alleys behind Main Street where the hookers shot dreams into their arms, the road that led to where it ended. Call this a thistle seed, call that a fence. Call it all the wheel of the world. Call it the whispering pasture under your feet, and that noise like a marble falling downstairs. Call it the owl celebrating the mouse it swallowed. Call your heart alive and pounding. Call yourself a human being who sings in the shadows. Name the animals, name the plants, name yourself, and keep on going until you can call it paradise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. Yeah. Our final reader of the night is John Giorno. I first heard John Giorno in a movie, Ron Mann's Poetry in Motion. And if you don't know that movie, check it out. It's a fascinating glimpse at a cross-section of what was not yet named as spoken word or performance poetry, but it was poetry Ron had looked at, poets, fiction writers, for whom the living moment of the poem was the epitome of its beauty. And I saw some people that I knew, Bill B.P. Nichol, the Four Horsemen, some of the great Canadian poets. And then it flashed to a scene in a reading at New York City. And there was John Giorno in the 1980s. And he was wearing a black T-shirt, and he was full of intensity, and he was sweating like crazy. And at the top of his lungs, he was screaming the chant of the pro, we're going to hang on to the Panama Canal, right-wing America. We bought it, we built it, we paid for it, it's ours, and we're going to keep it. And the crowd was going crazy, and he kept going, far beyond what I can do right now. He kept going. And I realized that here was irony at the top of a man's lungs. I'd never heard it before. I'd never seen it before. And yet there it was as art, as poetry. And from the top of his lungs, John Giorno taught me how to hear the cry in Keats and Yeats and Wordsworth. He taught me how to hear the tension in Dylan Thomas and Shakespeare. He taught me how to hear all the poetry that I'd known in my past, and he showed me the way that poetry would be in the future. And in many ways, everything we're doing tonight owes a great debt to John Giorno. I don't just want to introduce John Giorno, I want to thank him. John Giorno.
So, I'm going to begin with a poem that's called Welcoming the Flowers. I'm standing on the corner of Stanton and Christie, waiting for the traffic light to change. A man is sitting on the steps of a building, holding his young son on his lap. He is eating fried chicken from Chico's Takeout on Houston. He chews on the wings and feeds bits of the breast to his son. The man finishes eating, puts the leftover chicken, bones, fries, and soda can in a paper bag and leaves it on the sidewalk. A brown dog from the neighboring building snoops around, gets its nose in the bag, chews on the bones, and makes a mess. The man hits the dog with a newspaper, and it yelps and runs away. A black cat sitting in a window watches wide-eyed, staring down at the dog, chicken bones, and Grizzle. I see their past and present lives. The man eats the chicken, and the chicken was his mother, who had died 2 years ago of cancer. The dog chewing on the bones was his father, who had died 5 years ago of a heart attack. And the cat in the window was his grandmother. And his young son, whom he holds so tenderly, was the man who killed him in his previous life. His wife comes home with the groceries and takes the boy into the building. She had been his lover in many past lives and was his mother for the first time in this one. The world just makes me laugh. Fill what is empty, empty what is full, light as body, light as breath, welcoming the flowers, daffodils baptized in butter, lilacs luxuriously licking the air, necklaces of wisteria bowing to magnolia mamas, The cherry blossoms are razor blades. The snow dahlias sharp as cat piss. The lilies of the valley are lilies of fur, lilies of feather, lilies of fin, lilies of skin. The almost Miss America rose. They all smell so good, and I get sucked into their meaty, earthy goodness. You make my heart feel warm. I lay my head on your chest and feel free. Filling what is empty, emptying what is full, filling what is empty, emptying what is full, filling what is empty, emptying what is full. The gods we know we are, the gods we know we were. I smell you with my eyes and see you with my ears and feel you with my nose and taste you with my lips and hear you with my tongue. I want you to sit in my heart and smile. Words come from sound. Sound comes from wisdom, and wisdom comes from emptiness. Deep relaxation in great perfection. Welcoming the flowers. Armfuls of honeysuckle and columbine, red-tipped knives of Indian paintbrush. The fields of daisies are the people who betrayed me. The lupine were self-serving and unkind. Orchids are the tongues that lied. Hyacinths are the songs of suicides. The voluminous, voluptuous bougainvillea are flames licking what cannot burn. The big bunch of 1,000 red roses are all the people I made love to. Hit my nose with the stem of a rose. The poppies have pockets packed with narcotic treats. The chrysanthemums are a garland of skulls. I go to death willingly with the same comfort and bliss as when I lay my head on my lover's chest. Welcoming the flowers. The third bouquet is a crown of bluebells, a carillon of foxglove. A sunflower snuggles its head on my lap and gazes up at the sky. May all the tiny black insects crawling on the peony petals be my sons and daughters in future lives. Great balls of light, white, red, blue, concentric dazzle, yellow, green, great exaltation. The world just makes me laugh. May sound and light not rise up and appear as enemies. May I know all sound as my sound. May I know all light as my light. May I spontaneously know all phenomena as myself. May I realize original nature, not fabricated by mind. Empty, naked awareness. Thank you. This next poem is called It Doesn't Get Better. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get any better. It doesn't get any better than this. It doesn't get any more fabulous. And as bad as it is, it does not get any better. Stuck in a traffic jam and the scenery is beautiful, irritating gusts of boredom, and on the radio is playing, if you don't like my oceans, don't swim in my seas. You can't hurt me, 'cause storms can't hurt the sky. Sugar skulls and long necklaces of rotting human skulls, of police officers, lawyers, and judges. The triumph over abuse and injustice. Fat chance, ring the alarm. I could not save you. You are addicted to anger and complaining. When you got hepatitis, everything looks yellow. My anger ate the goose that laid the golden egg, thick bacon and a little something sweet. And the most surprising change is becoming the god of your enemy. The eagles fly below us. The illusion that makes life bearable, the illusions that make life bearable, the illusions that make life bearable. When you lose the illusions that make life bearable, when you lose the illusions that make life bearable, when you've lost whatever it is you believed or invented, were imprinted or scarred by, unthinkable loss. Delusion inside delusion inside delusion inside delusion. Everything is delusion, including wisdom. And then there's the illusions that make life bearable, the illusions that make life bearable, the illusions that make life bearable. I'm here to do whatever is your pleasure. Empty words, gone without a trace. All I had to do was get through it. All I had to do was get through it. All I had to do was get through it. You can't win, you can't break even, and you can't even quit the game. And happily, very soon, I will remember nothing. The sand is snow, a hurricane in a drop of cum. You will find your true love in the end. You will find your true love in the end. You will find your true love in the end. When you die, you will find your true love in your mind. When you die, you will find your true mind. In the darkest night is the brightest light, clear, unlocatable, with emptiness awareness. Thank you. And this next poem, I started writing in New York in July of 2001 and finished it by the end of that year, 2001. And it's called There Was a Bad Tree. There was a bad tree a bad tree the people hated. The leaves gave off a foul smell, and the flowers had a bitter stink. If you got too close, you vomited. The fruit was poison. One bite and you were dead. Everyone really disliked it. The bad tree stunk. They talked endlessly about it and came to a big decision. Get rid of it. Chop it down. They chopped with axes and barely made a dent. Wearing breathing masks, they whacked at it and nibbled and chipped. Oily powder from the shiny, dark green leaves got on their skin, blistered, and was really itchy, and they scratched bloody red. They put on protective gear with oxygen and went at it with electric buzzsaws and heavy equipment, working 24-hour shifts. Finally, they cut it down. Everyone was very happy and celebrated the great victory, a noble deed well done. And they went to bed exhausted. The next morning, the bad tree had grown back, had sprung up new and bigger and more beautiful and ugly. It was very discouraging. They talked a lot about it and cut it down again and poured gasoline on the roots and burned all the leaves and branches in a big fire. After the smoldering embers got cold, the tree grew back, bigger, more bad, and really gorgeous. Other people had been watching from their houses, waiting their turn. They thought themselves smarter, with higher intellectual capabilities. They knew how to get rid of the tree. It was a growing plant, a wood tree that grew in the earth. They incinerated it, burned the roots with chemicals, vaporizing acids, and robotic lasers. Detonated on the ground, bombed from the air, hit with smart missiles, and bombarded with radiation. They made a firestorm and covered the ground with concrete and steel. The tree grew back, more fresh, more elegant, even gracious, and really ugly. The wood was harder, darker, thick, hot muscle. And the leaves, full and lush, moved like underwater plants luxuriously in the breeze. It was extremely depressing, extremely discouraging, a catastrophe. They had made for themselves a hell world. They talked incessantly about it and came to a big decision. The mayor resigned in disgrace, and those who had worked so hard left, humiliated, departed, moved to the other side of town, stayed away. Then, out of the blue, appeared these beautiful people. They were simple and humble, and a little like peacocks, and seemingly well-intentioned with a great sense of humor. Radiantly relaxed, oozing loving kindness and compassion, they walked right up and started eating the leaves. They ate the leaves and enjoyed them, became happy and laughed and chomped on more leaves. You could tell they really liked the taste. They pressed their cheeks to the flowers, black velvet coated with transmission oil. They licked the sweet juices that seeped from the petals. The pollen was coal dust and petroleum gas. Burying their noses, they sucked in deep breaths, eating the smell. Great bliss. They discovered the fruit hidden beneath the leaves, overripe mangoes with sticky eggplant skin hung like testicles, and inside the fruit was rotting meat like liver. The special people got their faces into the stinking slime and really got into it, inhaling with their lips and teeth and tongues. They licked and drank the thick red juice. The seeds, like cabochon rubies, seemed particularly potent and were chewed with great delight. The fruit contained the 5 wisdoms. The men and women became luminous. Their skin was golden, and their bodies, almost transparent, were clothed in shimmering rainbow lights. They became sleepy, yawned, and curled up under the tree and took a nap. While they slept, music filled the air. Lounging against the gnarled tree trunk and protruding roots, their huge bodies, colored red, yellow, blue, green, white, rested in great equanimity and radiated huge compassion. Inside the tree was the secret home of many demigods, hungry ghosts, and earth spirits who were very pleased with all the positive attention being paid them. After years of abuse, mutilation, and destruction, they were thrilled, even though they were being ravaged and their flowers wrecked. At the root endings, there were jewels, diamonds and emeralds and rubies, which were stars in the sky of the world below. The beautiful men and women woke up and nibbled on the leaves again. They ate the leaves like deer, pausing between bites, looking up at the vast, empty sky. The leaves and fruit increased their clarity and bliss and introduced the nature of primordially pure wisdom mind. Thank you. And this last poem is called Thanks for Nothing. And I started writing it on my 70th birthday in December of 2006. Thanks for nothing on my 70th birthday. I want to give my thanks to everyone for everything. And as a token of my appreciation, I want to offer back to you all my good and bad habits as magnificent, priceless jewels, wish-fulfilling gems, satisfying your every need and want. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thanks. May every drug I ever took come back and get you high. May every glass of wine and vodka I ever drank come back and make you feel really good, numbing your nerve ends, allowing the natural clarity of your mind to flow free. May all the suicides be songs of aspiration. Thanks that bad news is always true. May all the chocolate I've ever eaten come back rushing through your bloodstream and make you feel happy. Thanks for allowing me to be a poet, a noble effort doomed but the only choice. I want to thank you for your kindness and praise. Thanks for celebrating me. Thanks for the resounding applause. Thanks for taking everything for yourself and giving nothing back. You were always only self-serving. Thanks for exploiting my big ego and making me a star for your own benefit. Thanks that you never paid me. Thanks for all the sleaze. Thanks for being mean and rude and smiling at my face. I am happy that you robbed me. I am happy that you lied. I am happy that you helped me. Thanks. Grazie. Merci beaucoup. May you smoke a joint with William and spend some intimate time with his mind, more profound than any book he wrote. I give enormous thanks to all my lovers, beautiful men with brilliant minds, Bob, Jasper, Ugo. May they come here and make love to you. And may my many other lovers of totally great sex, countless lovers of boundless, fabulous sex, countless lovers of boundless, fabulous sex, countless lovers of boundless, fabulous sex, in the golden age of promiscuity, may they all come here and make love to you if you want. May they hold you in their arms, bawling to your heart's delight, bawling to your heart's delight, bawling to your heart's delight. May all the people who are dead, Alan, Brian, Cookie, Jack, and I do not miss any of you. I don't miss any of them. No nostalgia. It was wonderful that we loved each other, but I do not want any of them back. Now, if any of you are attracted to any of them, may they come back from the dead and do whatever is your pleasure. May they multiply and be the slaves of whomever wants them, satisfying your every wish and desire. But you won't want them as masters, as their demons. May Andy come here, fall in love with you, and make each of you a superstar. Everyone can have Andy. Everyone can have Andy. Everyone can have Andy. Everyone can have an Andy. Huge hugs to my friends who betrayed me. Every friend became an enemy sooner or later. Deep kisses to my loves that failed. I am delighted you are vacuum cleaners sucking everything into your dirt bag. You are none other than a reflection of my mind. Thanks for the depression problem and feeling like suicide every day of my life. And now that I'm 74, I'm happily almost there. 20 billion years ago, in the primordial wisdom soup, beyond comprehension and indescribable, something without substance moved slightly and became something imperceptible, moved again and became invisible, moved again and became a particle, and particles moved again and became a quark, and again and became quarks, moved again and became protons and neutrons and the 12 dimensions of space. Tiny fireballs of primordial energy, bits tossed back and forth in a game of catch between particles, transmitting electromagnetic light and going really fast, 40 million times a second, where the pebble hits the water. This is where the trouble began. Something without substance became something with substance. Why did this happen? Because something substanceless had a feeling of missing out on something. Not getting it was not getting it, not getting it, not getting it, not getting something when there was nothing to have. From that primordially endless potential to modern day reality,